As just a quick note, this is my first video of programming class that I filmed.
Today we're going to do game development in Unity, and we're going to be coding our game in C#. So, our first lesson here, the game that we're going to be creating here is a simple 2D platform game. This is the idea of the game. We have our character here, and the character's goal is to jump to one platform to the next and then reach a goal. And when we reach the goal, we win and we go to the next level. Now my marker isn't really working too well, which is why I'm going to use this marker instead. And I'm going to redraw. So we have our character here. And we jump to different platforms until we reach a specific goal, until we go to a next level. And that's basically what we're going to be doing today. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is create a new Unity project here. I'm going to call this one Platform, but you can call it whatever you want. I'm going to make it using the 2D format template, and I'm going to create our project here. Since my computer is really slow and I haven't used it in a while, it'll take some time. I'll be right back when it's done. Okay, so here we are in our 2D world. Now there aren't any textures yet or sprites, but the first thing first is our script. So I'm going to make a new folder and I'm going to call it scripts, just to be more organized. So I'm going to create a new C# script, and I'm going to call this one character. I'm just going to call it character. So when opening up the script, the first thing that I like to do is I like to just replace everything with tabs. I find the 4 spaces and I replace it with just tabs. So it'll be a whole lot easier to edit. So first things first, we're going to make a new variable. What is a variable? A variable is, well, it can be lots of different things. It can be a number, it could be a position, it can be a name, it could be even a script, it could even be an object. So our first one is going to be a public, which means we can access it in the editor inspector, like over here, or in the hierarchy, which is underneath my notepad. And also so it's accessible by other scripts, and it just makes life a whole lot easier. We're going to call this, well, first we need to define what it's called in the C# language. So I'm going to call it float. It isn't really, well, you have to name it float. We're going to adjust the speed of our character here. And then also a public float. Well, first a public vector2. The speed you can just call whatever you want. But I'm also going to create a vector 2, which means 2 float numbers, 1 for x and 1 for y. Very useful for positioning. Actually, a vector 3, since the camera must be in the 3D world, so it does not intercept our 2D plane that we have going on. So, follow vector 3, camera offset, because we do want the camera to follow us. And then also a public transform with a capital T. Camera, but actually, yeah, camera. You know what? A better idea is to not have this camera offset thing. But I'm just going to make a transform camera transform. Now we need to define our speed variable. So I'm going to call it maybe 1. So 1f for speed. By the way, remember the F because that stands for float, and it makes sure that it does not render as an integer number to the computer or to Unity itself. Now what we're going to do is we have 2 functions. We have a start function, which is here, which means everything that we put between these 2 brackets, or braces I should say, will get ran when the game starts. And then everything in here will be executed every frame, which means every time that the video updates. However, we're also going to use another function. I'm just going to call it, well, it already is defined as fixed update. It is called every physics update. Now, it isn't really important that you put it in here, but it's just easier to understand. It's just comments in your script. So, void fixed. Oh, and also remember to put semicolons. Semicolons are very important. Update. So, in this function, we're just gonna do it like that. And, hold on. So, here what we want to do is in our update method, we want to get some status about our keyboard. So, if we want to make a new if statement, so if input dot get axes probably something like horizontal, then we execute this code. Oh! Actually, no. We aren't going to do if statements today. But what we are going to do is we're going to use the current transform, which is transform but with a lowercase t. That's basically our positioning of our current player, or whatever the script is attached to, this entire script. So hold on, I'm just gonna cut this short really quickly. Merge to the next video track. There we go. So transform.translate. This is a function that translates our player. However, Frame rate may vary, and physics updates can change depending on your physics card or graphics card in your computer, such as, I think I'm using GeForce. I don't know what I'm using right now. But all I know is that it's pretty bad as a GPU. Although that's not what you need to worry about right now. So transform.translate. Now it's very important that you use, first we have we have 2 or 3 variables in here. And since this is just a 2D game, it'll only have 2 variables in here. So what we do is well, first of all, we want to do that and put get axis horizontal. But also, okay, so that's on our x axis, so it'll move left and right. Oh, first we have to multiply it by 2 variables, speed and time.delta time. Now it's very important that you use time.delta time, because what that does is it just the amount of seconds between the last frame and this frame whenever this code is executed. And it's very, very important that you do that. Otherwise it'll lag behind or go ahead depending on your frame rate. And also, if your frame rate is really low, that would be the only playable value. Which is why you have to have this here to prevent all those stuff from happening. So, what this does is we do transform, which is our current player, dot translate, which moves it around which just moves it around by a certain amount of units. And input.getAxis, which is like your controller stick velocity or like your mouse or stuff like that. Horizontal, meaning the left and right motion of the joystick or the keyboard, A and D keys, or the arrow keys, or whatever you have it configured to in the controlling settings. Time of speed, which is currently set to 1 right now at the moment, times time.delta time, which is very important for other reasons that I might get into. Now I'm going to make another function. I'm going to call this one, well, it's very important that you do use the correct case, because it is very case sensitive. So you have to have it uppercase and lowercase where I show here, otherwise it probably won't work. Then we're going to have another function, which we might do, how about something like, okay, so we're going to attach physics to this. So on collision actually okay, so void on collision enter. Hold on, I'm confused myself. I'll be right back. Okay, oops. So it turns out to be on collision enter 2D, because we're of course going to have the 2D physics, and then collision 2D, oops, there's collision 2D, collision. Now inside of this we have to have collision dot game object, which is why we're going to have public game object goal. So we're simply going to put this in an if statement. So if collision.gameObject is equal to goal, then we're just gonna say that we won, but just doing a debug.log 1 just to see if this works. Oh, but it's also very important that we also have a jump. So we're just gonna use the you know what? For now, just rigid body. You know what? No. Actually, I'm gonna do something like if input dot get button down jump hold on, I'm gonna cut between recordings again. Okay, so if we do the jump, then we of course have to do something like I don't know. Oh, shoot. Transform that translate zero. Oh, and also a bug fix over here. I'm gonna do 0f just to make sure that it knows that nothing fishy is going on. I'm gonna do 1 and then 0. Actually, I'm gonna do something like 2. So there you go. We can now save our code and head into Unity and see how it is. Okay, good. Now we're going to make a new empty game object, which I'm going to put the main camera in. I'm going to call this camera holder. And make sure that the camera is, well, behind the scene. Okay. So now we're going to make a sprite here. Actually, I'm going to make my own sprite, which will be a nice little grass texture, and I'll be right back. Okay, we got a nice grass image here, but very first thing, I want to change the pixel. I'm going to just change the pixels per unit down to 32 because that's the size of my grass. And then I can just drag it to my scene. And then add a box collider 2D to it. And then I can just keep on duplicating it. So these will be our platforms. So then I'll shift them over a bit more. Its rotation. Okay, so now we have our camera holder. Now let's create a character. Here I'm going to create just a placeholder sprite. Just a square. And drag it into the scene. Now I'm going to name this character. And then here in our scripts we can apply the character script to our character here. So we have the camera transform. Oh, and also very important that we give it a rigid body 2D. And now let's give it a goal. I'm just going to make the goal be a circle. Then rename it to goal. And I'm going to put it over there. Over here, and I'm going to give it a circle collider 2D. And give it goal. Now as you can see here, we just fall straight through the grass. That is because our character is too close to the ground. And also because it has no collider whatsoever. Which is why we're also going to give you a box collider 2D to work with as well. So now it's quite playable, although we can still fall through the void. And also, our camera doesn't move. So here on our character, we're going to improve this. So first, if, now let's make a public bool I'm gonna call it do camera follow. And we're not gonna set it to anything. So if our do cam So if our do camera follow is true, also very, very important that you do these double equals things here. So if do camera follow is true, we're going to do camera transform dot position equals, so we're going to set our camera position to, well, our current position. Wait, did that actually happen? Yeah, it did. I'll have to cut this up. I'm going to cut this as well. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. So now on our character here, we're going to enable do camera follow and see what happens. Now I can clearly jump, and if we head over here, as you can see here, we won. But, oops. But we now have a glitched up character. And the reason for that is because we need to freeze our rotation. We need to constrain our rotation. So that way, when events like these happen, we don't tilt unexpectedly. Although we can add tilting later to simulate walking, such as tilting left and right as we walk around. We're not going to do that for now. Also, I can reach the stars if I wanted to. And yeah, we don't have any game over screen yet. Which is why we need to add one. However, I'm good without one right now, and we're going to make this a little more challenging to get to. Here you go. I don't know where I went. Now it's time to add a ground plane here. So if I come over here, this will be a ground plane that's just barely in view. And actually a better idea is for me to use the square and then just extend this on. So now if we end up landing somewhere, we just land on our ground plane and then we can simply jump back up. Although we can easily just cheat by going all the way back over here and then just repetitively jump until we win. And we can also still just fall off the void. And our jumping still isn't perfect. Like I was thinking it would hold down space and it would like keep you going forward, like keep on accelerating upward. Oh wait now.